you, thank you, thank you. Oh, to me, music is such an important part of ministry because it takes a message and, like Simon would say, it's like a prayer that's sung is a prayer said twice. And so when you all do music, it's like my talk being done twice. It always fits perfectly. Well, today I'm going to be talking about power and focus for that flow of creative energy. We're doing Barefoot on Holy Ground, Gloria Karpinski's wonderful book this year, and this is the focus this month. And when she talks about power, she's talking about recognizing there's outer power and there's inner power. And it's about recognizing the importance to truly be willing to embody your soul as a presence in this world. I believe that when we come in having planted the seed of what we want to learn, what we want to give, what we want to receive, what we want to experience. And I don't think it's a rigid form of what it's going to look like, but I think it's an energetic field. I don't think it's by accident we end up being planted in our family of origin. Some of us, it was a place of peace and wonder. For others, a place of challenge and pain. But all of it has the presence of the divine and is part of that journey of soul. Barbara Marx Hubbard, who I just really love, I've met her several times, she says that we are in a time period where we are shifting from Homo sapiens to Homo universalis. We're shifting from being caught up with just the outer appearance of things and survival into a sense of we truly are eternal spiritual beings. We are souls having this experience, as we say in Unity, for a divine reason. And so we're living in a time of real expansion of consciousness and of shift. Dolores Ashcraft Nowicki, who was from the Brotherhood of the White Light in England, she was a trip. She's the coolest lady. She's in spirit now, but I just loved her. I went to a workshop in Texas with her on the Kabbalah, and she was fabulous. And she said that everything, including us, come from a central matrix of potentiality, and that we are made of proto-sentient matter. How's that for a big word? I even managed to say it right. Proto-sentient matter. In other words, every cell is full of life force and wisdom and the presence of the divine. Deepak Chopra, who I met years ago at Unity Dallas, said the reality that is your physical body is not frozen anatomical structures. There is literally a river of intelligence and information and energy that is constantly renewing itself every second of your existence. Divine energy moving in and through and as you at every level of being, even the densest one in physical form. All of it is part of the divine. And all of that is spiritual energy. The quantum physicists have told us that matter is simply frozen light. And it all begins with let there be light. The quantum physicists say that the spark of creation is a spark of light. And so as we grow into more of a universal perspective and understanding, we begin to see how true that is. The presence of the divine in and through everything, including the flow of life. She says we come in and we have the energy, and there are different ways we can choose to use our life energy, our time, our treasures, our talents, our touch. All of those are part of who we are. And she says we each have 3 choices as we move through this world what we do with this energy and this power that comes in, through, and as us. First of all, one choice is, I will use this to glorify myself. Ego, outer attachment. Number two, I think I'll just walk away. The idea of power scares me, or the risk and the courage isn't quite there for me. Or number three, I will accept this power and use it to serve the world. I'll accept my soul journey, my soul responsibility, my soul potential, not only for myself and my growth, but for all of us working together, because we are all linked in that creative matrix. And it's opening to that flow of the divine. And that flow, she says in Barefoot on Holy Ground, she says, imagine the universal energy that flows into you as naturally as a waterfall into a riverbed. Divine flow. Every time you breathe, you are breathing in and breathing out energy. It's a commitment to being in the world for at least another minute until you breathe again. It's that amazing flow of giving and receiving. And she said that flow that comes as a waterfall into the riverbed, you can dissipate it, you can have it flood or destroy, it can stagnate. It's about letting that flow move through you. Harry Emerson Fosdick has something that he said that years ago, I heard this first time in ministerial school, and I love it. It's the difference between the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. And it has to do with the flow of water that comes into it. The Sea of Galilee makes a beauty of it. It gets to give. Water moves into, through, and then out of the Sea of Galilee. But the Dead Sea, with the same water coming in, makes it of it a horror, for the Dead Sea has no outlet. Things get stuck. We need that flow, that movement to have life. In Barefoot on Holy Ground, she says this, our personal work is to remove the obstacles while we define and maintain the riverbed. Don't you love that? We're here to maintain our riverbed. The power from the waterfall flows naturally and is never withheld. We can't create that power, but we have the capacity to use it creatively or to pollute it. We have the awesome, sometimes frightening privilege of choosing what to do with it and then facing the consequences of our choices. That divine flow. I've always seen Jesus as doing his miracles as connecting to the flow of the divine presence, and that it's like water, and that in spirit it's like steam. You can kind of feel it, but you can't quite see it. And then as it takes form in your life, it's like that liquid form of water, and that can shift and change and move. And then when you get into manifestation, it's like it's frozen as ice. That's why when you're doing spiritual work, the final piece is really embodying it. You can get it with your mind, you embrace it with your heart, but that final piece of bringing that steam into the dense world of ice is what our soul work does. And I believe Jesus was able to stand there and feel the steam of possibility and embrace the ice of physical manifestation, the way things are in the outer world now, and bring them together in a flow that gently can change things, shift things. And so maintaining that riverbed from that flow allows you to co-create your life with an awareness of things at a soul level, but also an awareness at an embodiment level where you truly can fly with both wings and embrace both things. That, I believe, is how Jesus did all of his miracles. They were in that place of liquid flow. The first miracle that he ever did, that he is so famous for, is changing the water to wine at a wedding. Perfect analogy, water, flow, and turning it into wine. And I don't think that it's by accident that it was at this wedding, because by the tradition of the time, it was the bridegroom who provided the wine. And so it's very possibly and probably his marriage to Mary Magdalene. And so it's not until the two of them marry and unite their souls officially on this journey of teaching and growing and transformation and living love and living light that Jesus then does his first miracle. After they have come together, head and heart, masculine and feminine, coming together in oneness and blessing one another in that oneness and wholeness. And from that place, Mother Mary comes over and whispers to Jesus, "Hey, we're out of wine. It's time." And he listened to her. And so he then turns vats of water into vats of wine that they say is much better than the wine that was served earlier in the meal. So if you want really good wine, you need to learn how to do this trick. So what is interesting about this is it's about flow and taking the beauty and wonder of the flow of water and adding your blessing of love and presence to it and having it become wine. Something that ends up being one of the two elements used in communion to connect us with the presence of the divine through the teachings of the Master Jesus. And so wine is this presence, and what's interesting is that it has all the elements all the way along. From water to become wine, you need light and heat and soil and air and rain and water and organisms, and then it becomes, over time, wine. Jesus, instead of just looking at it at this frozen form, brought it into a liquid form and shifted and changed it. So I think it's really important that this was his first miracle, is saying, you are in this divine flow. Be aware of it. Embrace your spiritual, invisible self and embrace your embodied self as well, because love is the process, a marriage, a wedding. Love is the process that takes daily life and brings sweetness and flavor to it through our presence, our prayers. Saint Teresa of Avila said, "Christ has no body now on earth but yours, no hands but yours, no feet but yours. Yours are the eyes, which is to look out with Christ's compassion to the world. Yours are the feet with which he has to go about doing good. Yours are the hands with which he is to bless others now." We are truly called to be channels of that divine presence and to take that power and to use it for higher energy. And as I was working on this, I realized it's summer. So this is an interesting topic, but there was something that came to mind that comes from our childhoods as to how to really remember this process of accepting the flow, being one with the flow, of turning water to wine in your life and then letting the wine turn back to water so you can recreate again. It's how to do this soul journey from that first breath to the last, and all that goes before and all that goes after. And it's a childhood song that we've all sung. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row. Once you start, you don't want to stop, right? That's the way it should be with our lives. Once we start, we don't want to stop. A guy came when I was a minister in Denton, 30 years ago now, Stephen Lane Taylor, and he had written a book, Row, Row, Row Your Boat, a guide for living life in divine flow. And the book I've lost over the years, but I still remember what he said and how he shared it, and I loved it. This is August, it's summer. This is like spiritual summer camp. We're going to do row, row, row your boat instead of a quote by a quantum physicist because it says the same thing. So, row, row, row your boat. You're getting into the water, which is the divine flow. The boat is your body, your vessel through which you get to experience life. The one who rows the boat is your soul. The oar is your intention, meeting that flow and moving you forward as you row by free will through the world. It's your boat, it's not someone else's boat. I think we sometimes get confused with that. You can't row their boat and they can't row yours. Just row your boat. What kind of boat does it feel like? Is it flat-bottomed? Is it a kayak, a canoe? Is it tipsy? Is it solid? I think at different points, I am definitely in different kinds of vessels. One of the things that's important when you're on that boat is to stay centered. You throw your weight too far right or left or front or back and you'll flip over. I learned that when I tried to do my first kayak lesson at Fort Worden years ago. If you lean too much, you'll find yourself in the midst of cold water, suddenly and unexpectedly. You have to row on both sides. You have to use your head and your heart, because if you just use one, you're going to go crooked. You're not going to get to where you want to go. You'll go all this way or all that way. So you have to row on both sides. When the water is smooth, it's time to relax and enjoy. When you hit an eddy where you feel like you're going in circles, if you fight it, it just gets worse and you get pulled under. They say the actual place of the most calm is in the center where there's an eddy. And so you don't fight it, but rather you go into it and then you accept its movement, and then when it's on the outflow, you row and you get out of the eddy that you're stuck in. You don't have to stay in it, but you have to work with it rather than resisting it. When you encounter rapids, it's an important time to stay in the present moment, not worry about the rock that's a mile down the river. Be focused and present right where you are, and realize that even in the midst of the rapids, there's part of that that is so exciting and interesting that it wakes you up in ways you wouldn't have been awakened without having the rapids. And as you near the destination, one of the things is you need to aim upstream a little bit so that as you go toward the shore, you'll end up right where it was you were seeking to be. All of it is about that flow and moving through life. So row, row, row. Set your destination as best you can. Fill yourself with enthusiasm and act. Get in the boat and do the journey. Get in your boat. Use all your senses to experience the wonder of life. Let go of the specifics of where the river's going to be fast, where it's going to be slow. All you can do is navigate as it comes. one holy moment at a time. And so trust the flow of the river gently. That's a really good one. Row gently rather than fighting. Pay attention. Notice synchronicities. Let the river carry you sometimes and enjoy that. It's down the stream, not up the stream. So much of our lives is resisting what's there and trying to go up the stream instead of down the stream. And you work and you work and you work and you don't get anywhere. David told a story when I first got up here, being on a sailboat and being out at Fort Worden, and they had, the sailboat was heeled over, sails full of wind, and they were going backwards because of the tide. You can keep sailing, but recognize that life is bringing you experiences, and to go with the flow rather than resisting makes life so much more peaceful and enjoyable. And with that, the next line, merrily, merrily, merrily. We take things much too seriously. See the miracles and the joy and the wonder. Enjoy the journey all along the way. Know that that flow is taking you to higher good, but appreciate that whole journey, not just the destination, the arrival, but the journey from the very beginning. I know when I've led pilgrimages, one of the things about pilgrimages is the pilgrimage doesn't begin when you go to the airport and get on the plane. It begins the moment you begin to vision the possibility of that journey. We all did that before that first breath. We began to vision. And then merrily, 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 and the last line, life is but a dream. Don't be super attached. Recognize that this is a spiritual experience, a place for your soul to live and dance and live in response by deep listening and deep presence, knowing that as a dream, it's filled with wonders and with the unexpected. Our dream world is a place where we can meet the presence of the divine beyond our conscious mind. In our dreams, we meet the subconscious, not only with fears, but also with wonders and things that we've buried that now are ours to see. Our superconscious mind that reminds us we're lights of God, we are eternal souls. Remembering all of that. So your lesson for focusing for the flow is not something from a quantum physicist, but rather from a physicist that we all know and love, Einstein, who said, for some people, nothing is a miracle. For others, everything is a miracle. Row, row, row your boat as though everything is a miracle, because it is. So I invite you to stand and let's sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat together. Let's make this fun together. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. One more time. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So now you know how to live life using your power and being in the flow. And so now go ahead and stay standing because we have another song to do together, which is I Feel God's Power. That is in the flow. And thank you for singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat with me. Last night, I woke up in the middle of the night knowing I was doing that and going, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. It's amazing how in our childhood, the seeds are planted